Today, we're talking about expectations for the undrafted rookies heading into training camp for the Washington Commanders. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and follow the channel as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football daily. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about expectations for the undrafted rookies heading into training camp. And so we're going to take a look at the offense, then we're going to take a look at the defense. And by the way, when we're talking about earning a roster spot, it's not just the active roster on Sunday, but the practice squad as well. And so either or can any of these players make the roster that way. And so starting with the offense, and I think some of the names that you're going to want to take a look at heading into training camp, that's going to be Jaden Bradley. You have Robert Henry Jr., Quentin Moore at the tight end position, and Hilton Jr. And so starting with Jaden Bradley, we've talked about Jaden Bradley a lot. I think that he's really made some noise in the rookie minicamp, also too in the mandatory minicamp as well. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if he continues to build on the momentum that he has built up thus far with the Washington Commanders, because when you take a look at his last season at UNLV, it seems like that the momentum has just continued on from that season, because 58 receptions, 931 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, 16.1 per catch. But I think the big thing about Jaden Bradley is that he's blocked a punt and he's returned a punt for a TD. And so what that tells me with Jaden Bradley is that, look, yes, the team is looking to find somebody outside of Terry McLaurin to produce at the wide receiver position, but I think that this team is always looking for a player that can impact the team on special teams, because that's something that Coach Dan Quinn talks about. He talks about the importance of teams, which is special teams. And so the fact that he's blocked a punt and he's returned a punt, that tells me that, look, he has, I think, really a chance to make this team, because even if he's not on the wide receiver depth chart there, I think that there is going to be a place for him in special teams here. And so let's see if Jaden Bradley can continue on with what he's built up thus far. And so I like what he's doing, and I think that he could be an interesting player to watch for as the team continues on into training camp and preseason. And so the next player to take a look at here is going to be Hilton Jr. And so the thing with him is that he played with Jayden Daniels in college out of LSU. And so 6 feet, 188 pounds, got great speed at that 4.41 in the 40. And so the question with him is, can he do something other than just catch the deep ball? Because that has been the big thing with him, is the deep ball. And then also too, the issue with him is just he has not been able to stay on the field. He only had 4 games in 2021. He had a meniscus tear in both knees. And so the question is, can he stay healthy? Can he show a little bit more as a route runner? Because again, this team is looking for something at the wide receiver position. And so can Hilton Jr. step up? And so I think it's going to be interesting for him, because, I'm not sure the special teams play is going to be there. And so I think solely you're going to be looking at him as a wide receiver to make this team. And so next player that could be interesting for the Washington Commanders is going to be Robert Henry Jr. And so with Robert Henry Jr., this is a guy that, look, man, when you take a look at the highlights and stuff like that, this is a guy that certainly can burst and run pretty well. I think that he's got some great football speed. When you look at his 40 overall, not that impressive at the 4.52, but still I think that he has great football speed. And so he's got some good slashing ability, some good wiggle ability. And I think with him, he's already shown that he can make some plays as well. And so I think that going back into the mandatory minicamp, Sam Hartman threw a touchdown pass to him. And so, he's already made some plays as well. This could be an interesting situation depending on what the Washington Commanders do at the running back position. I think that that's going to be one of the bigger battles for this team. And so I think that he's one of the ones that you want to take a look at. So next, Quentin Moore. And so Quentin Moore at the tight end position, look, I think it is going to be tough for Quentin Moore. He has some good speed at the tight end position, 6'4", 260, and he's got some good hands in the short yardage situation. And the one thing that was talked about by his coach, Jed Fish, I believe, who coached up Jayden Daniels in college, is he talks about the fact that he is a terrific blocker. And so I think it's going to be interesting for him to try to make the team, because I think one of the guys that we haven't talked about a lot is Lawrence Cager. I'm curious to see if he is going to really start to emerge here, because Dan Quinn did talk about him. You have Chig as well, and then you also have John Bates. You have Ben Sinnott as well. And so it is very crowded there at the tight end position. And so I'm not sure if Chris Moore is going to be able to be an impact player for the Washington Commanders. Let's see if he impresses in mandatory minicamp or training camp now, if he impresses in training camp. And so that's another player to take a look at here on offense. And so now shifting focus and taking a look at the defense. And so there's a couple players that are interesting to me. I'm curious to see what Jeffery M'Ba is going to do, but I think a player that we have to talk about is going to be Fred Davis II, because I think that Fred Davis II is in a situation right now where this team is looking for somebody at the cornerback position, because we've already talked about the fact that they are bringing in Rasul Douglas. It's just going to be a matter of what the roster move is going to be made by the Washington Commanders to clear up a space. But I think that they're very much still looking to really solidify the cornerback position. And so could it be Fred Davis II? And so he's also made some plays for this team as well. In fact, I believe he's got an interception in practice. And so you're looking at a player out of Northwestern. He also played for Clemson as well and UCF. And the thing with him, he's 6'1", 200 pounds, 24 solo tackles, 6 pass breakups as well. And I believe that was with Northwestern. And so he's shown some flashes as a player. Can he do it at the pro level? And so Fred Davis II could be a sneaky pickup here for the Washington Commanders in the secondary. And so next, another player to take a look at here is going to be Malik Spencer. And so Malik Spencer, right now, he's going to be heading into training camp with the Washington Commanders. And so 6'1", 191 pounds, finished up his senior year with Michigan State. And so he's a solid blitzer off the corner. That's the thing with him. 52 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss. He had 6 pass breakups as well, 1 INT, and then also, too, he had 1 forced fumble. And so this is one of those players that would bring some length and some speed back there. And so let's see what the Commanders do. I think that they are pretty set there at the safety position. But look, the pads are on. Does he come out, show that he's a big hitter? Can he force some turnovers and things like that and turn some heads? And so maybe he's a player to take a look at. And then next, I talked about him here initially, and that's going to be Jeffery M'Ba. And so the thing with Jeffery M'Ba, man, is that he's got incredible size, 6'5", 316. And look, 42 tackles, 5 sacks, 20 pressures. This guy really put up the numbers here, played for a couple different universities, came over from France before he came over here, or he was from France and then made it over here to the U.S. He played for Auburn, Purdue, and then SMU as well. And so some great production. It's just the question of, can he get on the field? So I think that with the Commanders, he might be in a good position here, because they've certainly wanted to have, the right amount of players out there as far as the depth is concerned, because of the injuries and things like that happened to them last year. And so I think that with Coach Quinn and this coaching staff, they don't want to be in the same situation that they had last season. And so, look, if he comes into training camp, he performs well, I could see him possibly being on the practice squad again. It's football. Players do get a little bit banged up. And so I could see that Jeffery M'Ba, maybe, he has some skills here that the Commanders would want to at least keep on the practice squad, give him a chance if somebody goes down, or he could possibly earn a spot. And so we'll see what happens with that. And so he's another player that certainly I've got my eye on heading into training camp. And so lastly, I think that Drew Stevens could be maybe the biggest undrafted free agent for the Washington Commanders, because, look, he is already very much in the kicking battle with Jake Moody. He's had some practices where he has not missed. There has been talk about the fact that, look, he has, I think, a big leg as far as the range is concerned. And one of the things with the Washington Commanders last season is they waited too long to make an adjustment at the kicking position as far as getting somebody that can knock in the field goals and stuff like that. And so for as much as we talk about the offense and scoring points and things like that, At the end of the day, the National Football League, it comes down to tight football games. It comes down to situations, and you have to have a kicker that you trust. So Drew Stevens, I think if he continues to do what he is doing thus far, what he's shown in the rookie minicamp and then the mandatory minicamp, I think he's not only going to find himself a roster spot, but he could be a big time contributor for the Washington Commanders in year number one. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking about these undrafted free agents. Who do you have, on your list that you think are going to make the roster and how they're going to impact the team? Some of the key undrafted players in this franchise history. You have Joe Jacoby, went on to win Super Bowls with this team. Mark Murphy, he was terrific out of the secondary. Matt Turk, a terrific punter for us. And then Lorenzo Alexander, he was terrific as well. And Jeff Bostic. And so it can happen where you have players that come in undrafted and really become impact players in the National Football League. There's always stories about players that do that. When you look at the wide receiver position, just some of the legendary wide receivers that have come in the league. I think about Rod Smith of the Denver Broncos and what he was able to do. Jacoby Myers, he's still playing in the National Football League. Adam Thielen, he's playing. A legend in Drew Pearson, he was undrafted. You have Wes Welker, right? He's on staff. He was undrafted. And so, look, it can happen where you can find some undrafted players that come in and really impact your franchise. And so can it be the Washington Commanders' year as far as picking up an undrafted free agent? We will find that out here with these rookies. And so we've talked about the rookies that were drafted. We've talked about the undrafted rookies for the Washington Commanders. Training camp getting ready to get set to start. So the veterans are set to report here, I believe on the 28th. I believe the first day is going to be the 29th for training camp. And so we'll see what happens with that date there. But roughly, believe that is what we're looking at here with the Washington Commanders. And so football season right around the corner. We're going to be talking about preseason and week one shortly. But right now, we're getting ready to head to an exciting phase here with this team, which is training camp. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments, who are your key undrafted free agents on offense? Who are your key undrafted free agents on defense? And look, as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.